So it's not something that we're not used to. It's not something that we don't understand, but for some reason there does seem to be a barrier with a lot of young people that just feel that they can't talk to you about it, that you won't understand, that they're the only ones that have ever had this condition. So it's trying to get people to understand that, you know, a lot of us being there, seeing it, got the t-shirt, we really do understand what you're going through.
10% of children and young people have a clinically diagnosable mental health problem. Yet, 70% of children and adolescents who experience mental health problems have not had appropriate interventions at a sufficiently early age. EveryMindMatters are an organisation trying to find help for young teenagers struggling with mental health. We decided to speak to a range of teenagers in order to find out what they thought.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, I do. It's an issue that's not really brushed upon that often, and it happens all the time and no one knows about it. So it's important to talk about.
And it affects everybody, like, in some way, shape or form, so I think talking about it's not really a big deal.
A lot of people go through mental health and I think everyone's open to it and they know about it, so.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think it's like good to be aware of like what to do in a situation, because you never know like when an episode might happen or something could happen, so you need to be ready and not just freak out and panic.
When I was in high school, they didn't really do that, and it just felt very like you couldn't even talk about it, and it should be taught to people from like a young age, even like when you're 5 years old, because anyone can struggle with it, even little kids.
You remember like in school and stuff, they made you put seeds in cotton wool and then water it and just watch it, instead of making you grow seeds in cotton wool that took like half an hour a day. Have a little bit of a thing about mental health. It's not hard, is it, you know?
I've had a couple of family members that have had it.
I've had both.
A family member's had it.
I suppose like you could class depression as a bit of a mental health thing, so I've had some friends that have been on antidepressants and things, so.
Like I've struggled with it since I was little, and I'm constantly struggling with stuff like that, and I know plenty of people that struggle with it, and I feel like out of all my friends, like most of them struggle with stuff like that, so it feels like there's so many people that struggle with it, but we're not, like we can't feel open to talk about it, and it just feels like you have to keep it a secret.
My stepmom's had it. She was going through her nurse's training, and she became really, really unwell. She were sleeping all the time because of depression and stuff got overwhelming, and you could see that she weren't well. You could physically see she weren't well at all, and it were horrible to go through because of a woman that you've seen all your life. Well, not all my life because she's my stepmom, but a woman that's gone through so much to just fall like so far into something that can seem minimal to other people, but to me it were horrible. In a way it is easy.
It's easy for them to find it, but I don't know about accessing it.
I think it depends, and people are a bit nervous about asking. They don't actually know where to go and how to find help.
Like, you know where stuff is, because you know where an hospital is. There's an hospital in Barnsley, but there's like waiting lists and stuff for getting on it. It might take years for them to get on, but like only a day for them to find out where it is.
With people, it's definitely important for people to try and talk to people, but some people don't want to. And I think depending on where they think they can trust or find help, that'll help them a lot. With college and stuff, it's quite an easy thing to just go to Health and Wellbeing Centre and do it, but you've got to find confidence to do that. My stepmom, she didn't realise until last minute that she had anything wrong with her. My dad had to phone, and she got the help she needed because of my dad and because of the man helping her, the doctors and stuff.
So there's less of a stigma attached to it. Like, people won't assume one thing just because you've been labelled with this other thing.
More people are going to become clear about how they're feeling. I feel like it may prevent suicides too, because then people are actually going and talking to people about it rather than keeping it on the inside and feeling as if they're being judged for it.
So they can be aware and know when somebody's changed or whatever, so they can react, like do something about it.
So I work with quite a lot of people who have mental health issues, like a wide variety. I've worked with people who've got anxiety. I've also worked with people who've, things like schizophrenia, and you have to work very differently. It's got to be very tailored to the individual, and how comfortable the individual is with talking about it as well. Because some people who have problems, they just don't want to talk about it. They'll be like, "I've got anxiety. I'm not talking about it. That's fine." And other people will tell you every little detail about everything. So for someone who I work with that's got anxiety, I might talk to them if they're happy talking to me about how they feel, or we've got like counsellors within college that we can refer people to, and they can go and speak to them. There's a girl that I work with that's got schizophrenia. If she's having sort of an episode where she's hearing things, she likes to just walk, so we just do laps walking around the outside of the college building. So it's very different for each individual what I actually do. In the past, I've had students that obviously have had mental health issues, ranging from feeling suicidal to self-harming, feeling suicidal, feeling depressed, suffering from panic attacks, anxiousness, really the whole kind of length and breadth of it essentially. So it's not something that we're not used to dealing with. Outside of college, also I've got a family member who is going through the process and has been going through the process for quite some time now. So used to dealing with mental health services outside of college as well, mental health access team, GPs, counsellors, that kind of thing. So there is help there, definitely, but I think the biggest thing that particularly students at a certain age, 16 to 18, 19, need to understand that it happens to a lot of people. You're not on your own, and you just kind of need to sometimes got a little comfort zone around you, and you don't want to step out in case people think you're mad or something like that, and definitely not. Just put your hand up and say, look, I'm struggling, and people can talk to you, and that alone, and talking to your family and sharing with your your parents or your guardians how you're feeling, sometimes can really, really help, because they're looking out for you and they do want the best. You're not an inconvenience and you're not a problem, and people do want to help you, and you're definitely not on your own. Yeah, I think it's very important, because for a lot of people their mental health issues last throughout their life, and I think the sooner people recognise it, the better, because there's people who experience things and feel things and they haven't got a clue what that is, and they go through life, and it's not until they get later on as an adult that they actually realise, it's probably a mental health issue, and kind of by then they might have wasted a big chunk of their life not knowing what were wrong, or feeling depressed or things like that. I definitely think it's important to talk about mental health with younger generations, because there still seems to be, I'm fine, I can shake it off. You don't know what support people are getting at home. Certainly within my family, there are members of the family who it's, well, why should you be depressed? There's nothing to be depressed about. Well, it doesn't work like that. You could have the best life in the world and still be depressed. Robin Williams, for instance, an award-winning actor, lots of money, and we all know what happened to him. So it doesn't matter what's going on in your private life, so that can have an effect, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be affected by mental illness. It doesn't work that way. A lot of people, there's a lot of ignorance, sadly, when it comes to mental health, and just think that you can snap out of it, or you're just being a teenager and that's how things are. Not really, no. If you cut yourself, you're an emo. Well, no, you're not. It's one of those kinds of things. If you say you're going to kill yourself, you're just attention seeking. Again, yeah, maybe you are trying to get somebody to take notice of you, but it's not an attention seeking thing per se. If you tell somebody that you're going to be doing that, or you're feeling like that, then every single time that's said, it should be taken quite seriously and help offered. So there are lots of things that people do that other people don't understand, and quite inadvertently can make the situation a lot worse. So mental health, yes, is in the point that it might happen to you, but also one of your friends or your sibling or your parent or your guardian or whomever may be suffering from something like this. So the more educated we all are about it and the more open we are about it, then the better that's going to be for everybody, surely. People will go through life and they'll always have a very positive mind and don't struggle with things, whereas other people will have periods of sort of ups and downs, and I think it's how you cope with things as well. If you know, and there's nothing wrong with saying I've got a mental health issue. I think it's better to come forward and talk about it than to be kind of feeling isolated and alone.